this process of converting data into useful knowledge, okay, that is in
Yeah.
essence data science.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode on Tech Talks podcast. I know today is a really sad day for those who had their SAT at Regent Plaza, but we both are in there with you because we had our SAT there too. And either way, Ali's gonna tell us about the new guest we have today.
Hi, so today we have a very interesting guest, someone who's very close to my heart, especially because I'm related to him. But today's guest is Dr. Usman Qamar. He's a professor of data science and he teaches at NUST, and he's the head of Department for Computer Science and Electrical Engineering at NUST. He's one of the few Pakistanis to be in academic journal about AI and ethics. And generally, we had a very interesting conversation about different topics, including AI, chat GPT, data science, and how someone like us can start in data science.
We hope you guys enjoy this episode and take something from it.
So I would want to start with like how you got into data science, because it's something like, growing up, like, were you always into tech, and did you always know this was the way you wanted to go ahead, or like time and this month ke saath bas aisa hi ho gaya?
I think if I have to tell you the story, I will start right from the beginning. Okay. So it all started, when I went to do my master's in University of Manchester Institute of Science and Technology, or UMIST for short. Okay, so it's a university in Manchester in UK.
Okay.
So when I was doing my master's, at that time, I did a course. It was a very interesting course called machine learning. Okay, so I was really interested in that course. I said, okay, yeah, machine learning seems really interesting. It allows you to really predict the future from the current data that you have. And that really set the direction for me. And I said, okay, this is a nice opportunity. And then when I went to do my further research in MPhil and PhD from University of Manchester, I was very clear, okay, this is the direction I want to take. This is the place where I want to further work on. And for the last now let me see how many years, maybe over maybe 20 years or so, I've been working on data sciences. I've written books on data sciences. I've written books on research. Most of my research is related to data science. So I think that's what I say. It was a very organic way of going into data science, rather than just waking up one day and saying, this is what I want to
Yeah,
do.
that's what I want to do. Yeah. You
Makes
mentioned
sense.
you mentioned that you did a PhD from University of Manchester. So like what motivated you to do a PhD? Because usually logs, masters karke, they're like, okay, yeah, we're done, we're gonna start doing a job. So what motivated you for the PhD in data science?
Okay, that's a really interesting story. I hope you don't mind me
No, no,
telling
no.
long and
Yeah,
boring.
yeah.
No, 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 no.
Please share your
That's what
story.
we're here for.
So when I was doing my master's here at UMIST, I met my future supervisor, Professor John Keane. And when I was during this process of doing my master's, it was a direction either to come back to Pakistan and maybe look for a job here, or stay there and do higher education, continue with my higher education.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to study in UK
Okay.
without funding.
Hmm.
So I was very, very fortunate. Professor John Keane, he had some funding, and within his course, so he taught this course to me called Highly Parallel Systems. I got 97% in that course. Okay, so got a really good score. So
Wow.
he remembered me from that, and he said that I have some funding. Will you be interested in doing MPhil with me? Not PhD. He said MPhil.
Okay.
And I said, okay, sure, why not? Let's start with MPhil. Okay. So that I started my MPhil with him. Again, I was very fortunate that MPhil funding got converted into PhD funding. So I finished my MPhil and then I did my PhD. So you can say it was just a really good, road of circumstances,
Yeah,
that
really
really
fortunate.
got me to do my PhD with him. Okay.
Yeah, that's nice. Also, you said, like you mentioned, you've done PhD, MPhil, and all of this masters in data science. So, how would you explain data science, like to a person who has a basic understanding of computers?
Okay, I think the best way for me to explain data science is that we live in a world of digital data. Okay, so our digital footprints are immense. Okay? But this data on its own is useless unless we start to make some useful knowledge out of it. Okay, so I'm speaking to you right now here. We're creating a lot of digital data here, but eventually this will only become useful if this data gets converted into some sort of a knowledge. Okay,
Yes.
so this process of converting data into useful knowledge, okay, that is in
Yeah.
essence data science. Okay, so that's a short, very brief, very crisp version of it. Okay, but of course, it's much more than just this process. But for a layman, this is how I think is the best explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think both of us do have somewhat of an understanding. We recently, this summer, even I did an internship. And in my internship, even I had to deal with data, and I used a machine learning algorithm to predict future values. And I understood a lot from that, and I learned a lot from that. So I think slowly, the world is changing towards this place where like data science, machine learning, these are becoming very essential skills for anyone in that.
It is exactly like that. Very true.
All right. So you also talked about writing textbooks, and please lead us through the way how that came about and how that happened. But also, what is the good and the bad of writing textbooks and like teaching PhD students? What's the amazing thing about that lifestyle, and what's the bad thing about that lifestyle?
Okay, so I think if I start with the textbooks, right? So I've been teaching. I teach at NUST. Okay, so I'm a professor at NUST, and I've been teaching a course called data engineering. Okay, so now data engineering is very close to data science. You got to take some of the important aspects of it, and we teach that. I teach that. So I've been teaching data engineering for about 10 years or so in NUST. Okay, I teach this to masters and PhD students. And I always, so all this material of teaching which I had, I always wanted to convert it into a textbook. Okay, so I can give it to my students. So when I come up, to a student that I'm teaching, the class that I'm teaching, I can always say to them, follow my textbook, all right, rather than following some other textbook. So this is that was the motivation. So I went to the people of Springer. I said to them, I'm really interested in writing a textbook with you. Unfortunately, Springer is the world's biggest and most prestigious publisher of books. Okay, so they produce the highest number of books, academic books.
Yes.
So they said to me very quickly is that thank you, but we're not interested. Okay.
Oh, no.
So that was a shock. I said, well, that's strange. Okay, what can we then do? So then I wrote with them a research book. Okay, so I said, just to bring up my credentials, to make my credentials with them. Okay, so I said, okay, I write a research book with you. The research book did really, really well, so well that they even asked us to come and do a second edition of that book, which I did. So once I've written 2 books with Springer, I went back again to Springer. And I said to them, I've published with you, I've written books with you. Come on, give me an opportunity to write a textbook with you.
Yeah.
And then Springer very kindly agreed. Okay, even then it was a very long process. It took us I think it took us about 4 or 5 years to get the book written with Springer. So that was my motivation to write a book. And I feel a lot of proudness, you can say, in a very selfish manner. I'm saying that when I stand in the class and I say, this is the book that we'll be following, it is my book, and that I've been doing. I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of the book with me, else, but I've shared it with you. But you can go to the website of Springer, and from there you can, if you want, you can.
What's the book's name?
It's called Data Science: Concepts and Techniques with Applications. Okay.
Yeah, it's really big achievement to have your own book published and like teaching it in the university. It's really big achievement.
Yeah.
Also, I asked in this like, so what was the process like? Was it like, I'm sure there's a lot of prestige that comes with this, and there's a lot of like, as you said, you're proud about it, but like, and I'm sure this would have also taken a toll on you, like writing. And I've heard that from what I've heard, you're writing now multiple more textbooks. I think you're up to like 4, if I'm not wrong.
I've written 4 books. Out of those, 2 are textbooks. I'm now writing my 5th book, which is another textbook. It's called Applied text mining. Okay, so I do a lot of NLP, natural language processing. I'm sure you must have heard of the term chat GPT these days. Okay, so
Yeah.
chat GPT is really based on NLP, natural language processing. Okay, so that's what I'm, and my fifth book is going to be on that, natural language processing or text mining. And as for writing a book, yes, writing a textbook takes a lot out of you. It takes so much out of you that the second edition which I was writing, it was my daughters. Okay, they were the most impacted I felt. Okay, because you do a full-time job in the morning. Okay, and then you come back to your home, and then in the evening you sit down and you start writing a textbook. And
Hmm.
so it's the daughters, that said, we can't go out or anything like that. So in fact, I dedicated the second edition of my textbook to my daughters. Okay, so it's dedicated to them. So yes, it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned
Um,
you teach at NUST, right?
I do.
Do you teach in the Islamabad branch or in the Karachi branch? Like the main NUST?
I teach. I teach in a constituted college of NUST, which is called College of Electrical and Mechanical Engineering, or College of E&ME for short. Okay, so it's in Peshawar.
Okay.
Peshawar Road, sorry, not in Peshawar. It's on Peshawar Road, Rawalpindi.
Hmm.
So I do not teach in NUST S12, not in the main branch, but
Hmm.
in one of the constituent colleges, okay, which is College of E&ME. Okay, and I'm also the head of the department
Of
at
data
College of E&ME, or the Department of Computer and Software Engineering.
Yeah, I'm also currently like taking a course in the Karachi branch of NUST, and like I really like the campus and like the quality of education here. But like how is NUST as an undergraduate school for computer science students? Like for example, if it's a prospective school for me and Ali, like would you recommend the school? How is its overall teaching? How's the overall experience at NUST?
Yes, I think it's a wonderful institute. I say this to everybody
Hmm.
that undergrad education of Pakistan is top class. Okay, so you really don't need to go abroad for your undergrad education. For higher education, yes, I agree. And in undergrad education here in NUST, it's world class. NUST is the top university of Pakistan right now in engineering.
Hmm.
It has a very strong ranking, so we're currently ranking in 300s, so which is again a really good indication of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think NUST is a really good institution. It's a very practical courses that we have here. They're very hands-on courses.
Hmm.
So I think I will definitely recommend both of you to be part of NUST.
Inshallah.
I myself did my undergrad from NUST too. So
Oh, so
so
you did
then
undergrad from NUST and then you went abroad for higher education. Okay, that's
exactly
nice. Yeah,
that's
that's
it. That's what I did. Bilkul.
you're also one of the only Pakistani editors for academic journal called AI and Ethics. And recently, I was listening to Mr. Altman, CEO of OpenAI, and he was saying that we need to create an agency which licenses AI companies. So, could you explain to us why is it so important to regulate AI and regulate how companies use AI?
It is, yeah. I think, we are we haven't reached there yet, but we're slowly moving towards this concept where AI will become sooner or later, to some extent, self-aware. Okay, so I'm not talking about this concept of, singularity, which says that, all the AIs which are connected together become aware.
Hmm.
But, uh, you know, um, so we, so there's a continuous and a very exponential growth in AI and the technologies advances related to AI. Just a few days ago, I was watching Netflix, and there was this show on Netflix. I'm sure you must have heard of it, called Black Mirror. Okay.
Yeah.
And on Black Mirror, on the season 6, they did a really interesting show. They said, I hate, I don't remember the exact title of that show, but it was something like I hate glue or something like that. It was based on a lady, and her life was being copied or being shown on a Netflix-based channel, which in Black Mirror they called Strawberry, something like that. Okay, so the idea of that show was that with AI you can replicate somebody's face, you can replicate somebody's image, you can replicate or you can write complete scripts, okay? And then you can also, using AI and through deep learning, create the complete show without any humans being actually involved, okay? Now, you can say that sounds pretty, far-fetched, but it's not very far-fetched, okay? If you go to Chat GPT and you say to Chat GPT, write me a science fiction story, it will write you a science fiction story.
I've done that before.
You've done that, okay? So it may not be very good, but it will be there, okay? It will be something like that.
Yeah.
So what is happening is that slowly but surely AI is starting to do things that we only imagine ourselves humans could be doing, okay? Now, if we do not provide some sort of governance to how this information of AI is to be used, that can lead to a lot of fake news, false informations, okay? As somebody can using AI, can use my image, okay? Use the text generated from AI and can come and just give an interview on my behalf, okay? And I might never know that I'm speaking to you two over here, all right? So that is an issue right now, that we have to somehow control how AI will be used, okay? If you look at most of the Western countries in the world, they have stopped development on AI now. So they have said that before we go into further development of AI, let us sit down and let us define the ethics of AI. Okay.
Yeah.
And some other countries, such as China, they're not that interested in the ethics aspect of it, so they're continuously growing the AI. But in most of the developed countries in the world right now, or the G7 countries, they are really focusing on, how or what will happen with AI. And if you look at, what is happening in America with the, strike of the writers and the actors, I'm sure you heard of it.
Yeah.
Again, one of the reasons behind it is AI, because the actors are very scared. They say that, AI can be regenerate us. So that is why I think, we really have to now sit down and start talking about the ethics behind AI.
Makes sense. Secondly, a lot of people out there will argue that we're standing at a pivotal point and that the next thing in future is AI, machine learning, and data science. So firstly, do you agree with this statement? And secondly, what would you advise people like us who want to get into tech, but at the same time, there's this uncertainty of which side you should be on, what you should be studying, and which major you should pick within CS. So what would you recommend to us?
Yeah, I think without a doubt, as we were just talking the previous, question of yours, AI is here to stay. Okay, artificial intelligence is not going anywhere. But the precursor to AI is all data science. Okay, so if you do not have good data, your AI is useless. Okay, so I always say this to everybody that there is no AI without data science. Okay, so that is why one of the most important technologies of the immediate future and maybe in the long-term future will be data science. Okay, because people are we are generating very large amount of data. We really want to make use of this data, and of course that data then feeds into all your AI-based systems. But then you can say that I'm biased. Okay, I'm a data scientist, so I will be saying that. Okay, but so take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, but I will say this to you that the future does belongs to data, and if you want to be part of data, then data science is the place for you. But I will recommend that do not do an undergrad degree in data science, or always do an undergrad degree in either computer science or software engineering, or maybe even computer engineering. Okay, because at undergrad level you want to gain as much with that you can. Okay, you don't want to go into a single topic and go into the depth of that topic. Okay, so for you it is really important to have as much coverage as possible. So always go for CS or software, or maybe even computer engineering, but with minors or majors in something like data science or even AI.
Makes sense.
I have one more question for for example, a prospective student who wants to do data science, what's one piece of advice you would give them? Like, how should they start?
I think one of the best ways to start with data science is just go to Coursera. Again, Coursera is an online platform. I'm sure you must have heard of it. Okay. Go and see some of their basic courses, some of their fundamental courses. They have something like Introduction to Data Science. Okay. Most of the courses are, these fundamental courses, they're pretty cheap. Okay. They're not that expensive. Or just use a trial version of them and just do one topic of them. Okay. I think that's a really good way to get an understanding of what is data science. Okay?
And to see whether you're interested in the field.
If they're interested or not. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that will be the best way to, go into that.
Go into the
I was
field.
going to add to that, or if they want, they can always see my textbook. Okay. So that's a bit of self-promotion here. That also will give them a bit of a, introduction to what is data science. Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense. Since we're talking about that, your next book is about data mining, and you mentioned natural language processing. Could you explain that and relate that to ChatGPT? Exactly how does it work? The background of it. How does natural language processing work, and how do we, for example, when we're given in a prompt, right? Now, there is my understanding. Please correct me on this. When we give in a prompt, ChatGPT's algorithm goes through its database and it finds data points which are similar to this. It refines that answer and gives it out. So where does natural language processing go into this?
Okay, I think natural language processing goes into this aspect that when you're asking something to ChatGPT, ChatGPT has to make a decision as to what are the keywords, what are the important words that it wants to take. Okay, so you and me, we are currently talking over here. In this talk of ours, there are certain keywords. Okay. And then there are other words which have no useful understanding or meaning. So, for example, we're using the word the, we're using the word a, we're using the word this. Okay, now these words, they don't really have that much importance. Okay, but within a sentence, Chat GPT may have the most important importance. So the process of NLP is that given a sentence, which are the most important words within that sentence. So if I can extract those words, and then I can define the context for those words, okay, is that in what context I'm talking about, then it becomes very easy for ChatGPT to make a decision as to how to give an answer, okay? So this complete process of taking a complete sentence, finding the keywords from it, defining the syntax between these keywords and in what way are these words being used, and then using that information to finding your appropriate answer. This, in essence, is a short definition of what NLP or natural language processing is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does. I can tell why you're in the teaching field. You explain stuff well. So I think that's it from our side. Thank you very much for
Thank you
giving
so much
us
for
your
taking
time.
up time. Yeah.
No, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Anything else I can do, do let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.